This is the Wait For It podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Wait For It podcast. I am your co-host, Phil Barrera, aka Phil the Filipino.
And I'm your other co-host, Mr. Eric Almighty, and we are here for International Feature to talk about a movie in 2025 that I saw a lot of. There was a lot of marketing, a lot of advertisements, but it wasn't really on my radar to watch. Phil did see it and told me I had to check it out. So here we are. We're going to be talking about The Roses.
Yeah, it pops up on a lot of creators' lists as one of their favorites of the year. You know that me specifically, and then also Eric on his weird Aaron Brockovich kick. You know, we're very much fans of the rom-com, and I kept hearing, this isn't your traditional romantic comedy, and that certainly is the case with 2025's The Roses. So we have gone to the well in terms of like newer movies a couple times when it comes to Late to the Party, Past Lives, when it all kicked off with like Parasite, films like that. So if you're new to the podcast, make sure you stick around until the very end, and we'll let you know where you can find all the rest of our content. But let's jump into The Roses and the synopsis, directed by Jay Roach. The tagline is, "This marriage ain't big enough for the both of them. Life seems easy for picture-perfect couple Ivy and Theo. Successful careers, a loving marriage, great kids, but beneath the facade of their supposed ideal life, a storm is brewing. As Theo's career nosedives while Ivy's own ambitions take off, a tinderbox of fierce competition and hidden resentment ignites." The two stars of this movie are Olivia Colman and Benedict Cumberbatch, two people that we've seen quite a bit separately, and when they have a pretty electric chemistry that we'll talk about here in just a moment, because that's going to be actually my first takeaway when we talk about this film. But Eric, I do want to address before I get to that takeaway, something we very lightly discussed before starting. I had no idea this was a reimagining of a 1989 film called The War of the Roses. It was actually directed by Danny DeVito, and it stars Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner, and I believe Sean Astin is somewhere in this movie as well. Never heard of it. Came out a year after I was born, and I had no idea that this was essentially a reimagining remake from a film that came out about 35 years ago. Did you have any idea either?
So we were talking a little bit about this. The War of the Roses is not something I ever really heard about. Obviously, I learned of it from watching this movie. I mean, Michael Douglas, Danny DeVito, I really wonder what that movie looks like. I didn't even look at the trailer. You said you did in the pre-show, and it looked interesting. We probably should have watched it. So if you're looking for a compare-contrast, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to provide that. But I will say, maybe a precursor to how much we enjoyed this movie, I would say that based off of this one, I would be interested in watching that one to see some of the differences, especially if it has that same dynamic and nature to it as far as the heart of the film.
Yeah, the trailer definitely has a lot of the same beats that the 2025 version does. Maybe a little bit more towards a kind of thriller-esque approach in the finale, which that definitely does happen here. I certainly want to talk about the finale with you here in just a moment. But yeah, let's discuss my first takeaway, which is just the lead performances from Olivia Colman and Benedict Cumberbatch. They are very frequently praised for their chemistry, their sharp delivery. I'm so used to seeing Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange. It's so refreshing to see him in a role with some personality. And then Olivia Colman is a powerhouse all on her own. So to have them together, they work so well for this material, and as far as the dialogue and their very dry sense of humor. I mean, you see it right there in the opening scene when they're in couples counseling. And when that scene came up, I was like, okay, well, I think we're in for something that could be really, really entertaining. So definitely want to start there. Olivia Colman, Benedict Cumberbatch, very much enjoyed their performances.
Yeah, and you know what? The reason I like their performances goes into my first point as well, which is the dark comedy aspect of what you're seeing in this rom-com. There is, we're gonna keep it pretty spoiler free for the most part. I don't know, we might open a spoiler section at the end, but because this movie just came out this year, if you haven't seen it, we want to give you a fresh pair of eyes on it. I do want to mention one particular scene that happens towards the middle, maybe towards the middle end of the film, which is everyone at the dinner table and a very uncomfortable amount of dialogue. And it seems like it goes on for a little bit. It seems like it goes on for quite a little bit, continuing to increase the discomfort. And you know what? Like, that honestly kind of worked. It kind of worked. There were some people at the table that were like, this is fun. And there were some people that were like, you guys talk to each other this way? This isn't normal. And there was like a lot of that dark and black comedy that really worked for not only their performances, but the overall tone of the movie. And I thought it just added some fun elements, if not extremely bleak and sometimes depressing. But that's what you're going to get out of a comedy like that, when it's using some of those serious tones and it's shoving them into your face in a somewhat comedic but sad manner. Again, it's going to be a hit or miss, which is why I'm also not surprised that this movie wasn't exactly a big critical hit. Like, I definitely know that a lot of people liked it. When we talk about scores later, some lower sides than what you're thinking, maybe based off of the way we're gonna, kind of praise this movie.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. That was definitely going to be one of my takeaways as well. So we'll kind of just merge into number two. Like, yeah, the dark satire, meeting like a relationship like drama, because like I said, this isn't a rom-com. They have a meet cute in the beginning when they first meet, and of course, as any couple does, you bang in a fridge or in a freezer. So that's just how it happens with most couples, So, so there are those elements in there, but like I think getting to the nitty gritty of one spouse failing while the other is very successful, and how that dynamic works out between them in terms of one just kind of continuing to plummet while the other ascends kind of out of nowhere due to unforeseen circumstances. Like they both rise and fall because of a storm, right? And it's just a really interesting way to explore that dynamic. And yeah, and I think that could be it's something I very much enjoyed with the dark satire and the dark humor, but also at some points it felt like maybe they were a little too afraid to push that a little bit further. Like, it could have gone way darker than it already is, and I think I would have enjoyed seeing kind of like what that writing and what that dialogue could have looked like. So maybe, even though it is very entertaining and I very much enjoyed it, I think there probably could have been more that they could have dove into. And maybe that's one of the reasons why people were a little split on it, is because it's like, okay, I see what you're trying to do, like, just go all in, just do it.
Yeah, I could see that complaint. I definitely have a couple complaints about the movie in general, but I'm going to leave those for my third takeaway. What I'm going to bring to the table for my second takeaway is the marriage dynamic here, and some of the things, like, there were a lot of things that were very real about what they were going through. I mean, we have one character built up and then torn down, and in his or her stead, the other partner has to start lifting up the family and starting to do stuff on their own and start to lift themselves up. And you kind of lose each other in that journey, right? Where things aren't the way they used to be. Can they go back to the way they were? Does each party even want that to happen? There were a lot of like really genuine things that I know for a fact exist in not only, a regular marriage, but almost any marriage, between two individuals who are living their life together, who have kids, who have these dynamics. It was deep in that way, but I understand where you're coming from in some of the other tones that kind of came along with it. They could have really delved into it. It could have also been a lot darker. I enjoyed, to a point, the kind of theme they were going with and the tone they were going with, until we started kind of getting into the third act. And I'll leave that as my third takeaway for some of my criticisms, especially early on. Like, I enjoyed the fun kind of lighthearted banter that was happening, and even some of the crude humor we're getting early on. It did kind of escalate as we go later into the film, like I mentioned, that table scene. So I enjoyed the escalation to a point when it came to some of those themes and some of that humor.
Yeah, when you're talking about humor, it's just always so nice to see Andy Samberg in anything really that he does. I think he's perfect in like a supporting role in this. Kate McKinnon also I thought was very, very good. Yeah, that just it was a really good, they were really good alongside the dark humor from Olivia Colman and Benedict Cumberbatch, and they brought in like the silly, lighthearted stuff. And I think that's probably where, as far as like tonal shifts, like people are seeing like a little bit of a like Whiplash in terms of what this thing wants to be. Like I said, a really dark comedy, or like, hey, it's really silly. Look, Kate McKinnon wants to bang Benedict Cumberbatch. Like, oh, they have an open marriage. That's really, really funny. And interestingly enough, like, this is I just also watched another movie about open marriages, which was the one with, what's her face?
Splitsville?
Splitsville, yeah, because I kept seeing stuff about Splitsville. I was like, let's check this out again. Rom-coms, that's my alley. And no, just didn't hit the... did not hit the mark for me. And also, as far as that dinner scene, it's interesting because there is a very similar scene. Obviously, tonally, it's very different in Black Bag, which is another movie we kind of threw around for this spot. And that scene is probably the only scene I really enjoyed in Black Bag. So we're seeing kind of like this uncomfortable dinner party aesthetic quite a bit.
We really like dinner parties. We should probably give you the menu a real shot.
We should probably watch the menu again. Yeah. Sorry about that, everybody. We'll do that probably
one day.
One day. So yeah, my third takeaway may lean into yours because it does involve the third act, and I do want to talk about the finale, which I very much enjoyed. So maybe this is where we'll leave a spoiler warning, because I do want to talk about what happens in that final scene in the house. And this scene, basically, the War of the Roses version is in the trailer, so you kind of get ideas of like where the inspiration came from, and they're not totally similar because just architecturally it's going to be very different. I think architecturally the design of this home is also very important to the 2025 version of the movie, in terms of it being this symbol of both of their successes but also both of their failures, right? Like, this is the house he always wanted to build, but she had to pay for it, right? Like, it wasn't necessarily the way that he thought it was going to be. So I think that's a really important part of the film. But yeah, when I was like at the edge of my seat watching this finale when he has the EpiPen and like telling her to sign the paperwork. I'm like, is this how this is gonna end? Is he gonna murder his wife? Is he gonna murder Nicole? Zendaya, like all that, like I was really, really gripped by that. But again, because throughout the entire thing, it's like it had never all of the stuff. It was like all talk. You know, there's the scene with the lawyers too. That scene is really funny as well. But like it had been all kind of talk and let's talk through our lawyers, and then it's like, oh, we're shifting very differently into one of us is gonna die for this house and it's not gonna be me. And while it was very entertaining, and like I said, I was on the edge of my seat, it was like that was at the point where I was like, man, this could have been a totally different movie if they just committed to the tone that they wanted. And it seems like the War of the Roses does that pretty consistently from beginning to end. So we're gonna have to watch that movie at some point and compare and contrast. Maybe it won't be a full-on episode, maybe it'll be like a stream or a bonus episode or something like that, because I do want to watch the original, because cinematography wise, the way that the War of the Roses shot, it also has that like 1980s darker aesthetic, so maybe that's why it works a little bit better. And juxtaposed against this very futuristic household, maybe that's why it was also a little jarring for how dark they wanted to play it. But yeah, definitely enjoyed the finale, and like I said, as far as just having a good time, but again, it was like leaving me like, man, they could have had a little bit more of this earlier on.
Yeah, and I think the spoiler warning is a good call here, because again, we're talking about some finale stuff, and it's a little easier to get into when it comes to it. I enjoyed the film overall. I definitely deduct a lot of points going into the end here, and here's really the only reason why, Phil. It feels like the escalation from, this isn't working, or I would say this, the escalation to it isn't working takes a long time. Like, when it happens finally, just the discussion of like, I don't think, with the whale and saving the whale on the beach and the epiphany that he has, right? That took a long time. Like, for a film that's only an hour, it's 100 minutes, 60 plus was spent on like this like buildup, right? So there's not a lot of time in this space. And then we don't spend a lot of time in that space before things get Mr. and Mrs. Smith levels of fucking crazy, as far as them trying to kill each other. I just thought it was badly paced at the end when it came to the escalations. It almost felt a little too comical. So I mentioned that tone earlier worked for me for a lot of the film and the themes and what they were going for. It almost felt over the top a little bit by the end. And then another nitpick I had that I wanted to get to, Phil. So I think Kate McKinnon and Andy Samberg like overstayed their welcome. What I'm saying with that is like, it it was one of those things where it wasn't as effective the longer the movie went on. Like, it was really funny at first, but it almost felt a little bit like an SNL skit kind of got, and I know they're the cast members, right? Like, I know that's an easy critique to make, right? But it really did feel like at some point it was like a SNL skit attached to the movie. Like, they had their little bit that was going on, and I don't know, it just didn't really work for me. So this movie unfolds in a lot of different ways, but some aren't very creative in my opinion. Some are a little bit head scratching in my opinion, and rushed in my opinion. So that's kind of where I landed on a couple of critiques when we get to the end. Without exactly diving into every single nitpick, I had a lot of the things that I thought maybe negatively of this movie happens pretty much after that first hour from a payoff perspective.
Yeah, I get that. I think for me, as somebody who just really enjoys that Andy Samberg shtick, that's probably why it didn't have the same effect on me. But yeah, I certainly understand that. But yeah, overall, again, very much enjoyed my time with this. Liked it a lot more than I thought it would, especially as I'm, starting to fill out my 2025 list, which is going to come down to the wire for me this year. I have been slacking. So, yeah, but all of those things definitely understand when it comes to, not necessarily like misses, but again, just things that we would have liked to see in terms of committing to one thing or another and then maybe cutting out some of the Andy Samberg stuff and giving us more of the build up, like more of how this relationship is affecting like the children. Like we didn't even like discuss the kids. I thought it was kind of funny. They were like, and I think a lot of parents have that, like whenever their parents split up and that they hate each other and they're like, oh great, fantastic, that sounds fantastic. Yeah, we got to go. We're here at camp, like doing our own thing. And good thing they weren't there when the house blew up. So that's also a good thing as well. So when it comes to
do we know that the house blew up?
I think it's probably up for interpretation. Yeah, so in one of the reviews from one of the content creators that I follow, who I mentioned a lot, Amanda the Jedi, her review is, yeah, that's probably how it had to go down. So it's almost like, again, it was heading towards that. Cameron Kozak, you probably have seen him as well, Eric. He said, incredible breakdown of Benedict Cumberbatch and Olivia Colman fucking shit up. So lots of fun stuff there. So I think with a lot of with his failure being very public, that also lends itself a lot to what happens here too. So like, it's not like 30 years ago when his failure would have only reached people who like read that in the newspaper or just heard about it second or third hand, it being like this viral moment on TikTok and Instagram. I thought was really really enhanced his kind of like descent into madness and fall from grace as well. So yeah, all stuff that we that I certainly enjoyed. But anything else you want to mention, Eric, before we get to scores and how this movie was received or has been received here in 2025?
Yeah, I'll just read a couple of random Letterboxd reviews that kind of caught my eye. that gave me a laugh. So this movie is essentially marriage story for horny people who like to get high and be toxic towards one another. Everyone was on the same frequency, freak with a K. Yeah. That was very clever. Somebody had mentioned the fact that this movie was clearly shot in the UK, but it's supposed to be set, I guess, in Northern California. So that was interesting. This movie does borderline on international feature, in my opinion. Like, it clearly has some international flair to it in both locations, even though they don't utilize it, and in humor. But I would say this is one of our most borderline, like, sneak-ins of international feature, which is definitely on us. There was also someone that said a movie for people that have been in a relationship for a long time and literally no one else, which I thought was fairly funny because, again, we're going to talk about scores here in a minute and reception. And I think that might have had to do something to it. Like, again, I personally think somebody who's been in a marriage for a long time would probably not only relate, but like the therapy scene where they're like shitting on each other and then laughing about it. There is something like real about that. There is something about like laughing at the torture of the pain. It's sad, also hilarious, but sad. Someone else also said we need to shut everything down until we figure out what to do with Kate McKinnon. I'm telling you, that's not the only comment here. I don't think a lot of people like Kate McKinnon in this movie. So yeah, I think it just Kate McKinnon is morphing into Ellen right now. What somebody said.
It is a that is just a Saturday Night Live character, whereas as Andy Samberg, I feel like, is being more of a character that it could be a buddy, like could be a friend, but Kate McKinnon is playing just a Saturday Night Live sketch character.
Yeah, maybe that's why I felt that way overall. Yeah, Mr. and Mrs. Smith for English people. So again, a lot of very similar comments that
one of them was isn't Angelina. What is Angelina Jolie in that movie? I don't know what Angelina Jolie is.
You made that up.
What?
I don't think
she's not English, but she has an accent. I mean, foreign. Yeah.
Phil, that's crazy. I'm gonna let you get to the Rotten Tomato scores whenever you're ready.
Whatever. I'm not pulling punches with Angelina Jolie in 2025. Let's get to the scores here.
Also, before you actually get into that, Angelina Jolie is Dutch, French, little German, little Slavic.
Yeah, English.
Okay, I'm sorry. I said anything. I'm sorry I even looked it up.
IMDb a 6.8 out of 10 rating, and over on Letterboxd it holds a 3.5. I ended up giving this a 4. Mostly because I was just so enamored by the chemistry between Olivia Colman and Benedict Cumberbatch. I was very, very much into, again, everything that was going on relationship-wise, where the stock for one of them is going up while the other goes down. Is very, very entertaining to me. And, also makes me want to watch the original with as much Danny DeVito as possible. So, 4 out of 5 for me. Yeah,
and I really enjoyed the movie. I had a lot of fun with it. I think our two leads are really great together. I think that again, that dark satire, that crude black comedy works. Like it definitely is. It's definitely a lot of fun. But at the end of the day, the movie did kind of lack a little bit there at the end. It didn't exactly land for me. But I really debated whether or not I was going to give this a 3 and be extremely harsh, or just admit that I had a good time and give it a 3.5. I ultimately fell on the side to give it a 3.5. Because I did have a good time with it. If it was on, I would actively find myself watching particular scenes, laughing, finding it entertaining, connecting with it in some way or another. So I gave it a 3.5. I enjoyed it. I wonder how my score would be affected after seeing the original. And I am curious if that's what happened with a lot of other people that left reviews. And Phil, that's kind of where I sat on this one. Not a bad choice to, fit here in the month of November.
Yeah, and at one point, I did think, man, am I giving this too high of a rating? But, 53,000 people, 28% of the voters, or the people that have rated this movie, gave it a 4, and then the other high one is 26% at 3.5. So I do think it sits somewhere between a 3.5 and a 4. I just gave it that bump because I just enjoyed the performances so much. I'm going to not touch this Google Chrome browser at all. I'm just going to look at my phone here going forward. The behind-the-scenes stuff is going crazy here tonight for this episode, so you guys will never see it because of editing magic. Let's get to where this ranks in terms of international features here, Eric. We are up to now 38 movies. We're heading to 40 pretty soon here when it comes to international features. Again, because of its score, I gave it a 4 out of 5. It does rank 17. It is ahead of films such as Wolf Children and Perfect Days, but still behind movies like Old Boy and Okja.
Yeah, and where does it land for your 2025 movies?
2025, it is, again, I haven't seen as many movies as you or my sister, but I did change it from my initial review. Before, I did have it ahead of Superman, which I was like, how did that happen? So it is number 8, behind Superman and in front of Companion. Because I have since bumped Superman to a 4. I don't know if I've told you that.
No, you have not, which is, I'm looking at your list now. It has definitely changed. You're actually much closer than you think. You've watched 26 films. I've watched 28.
Oh, okay.
I've got a couple more on the docket.
Somehow, for some reason, added Splitsville to that yesterday. So
yeah, well, you've added. I've only seen 69% of the, nice. I've only seen 69% of the movies you've seen. Out of the movies you've seen, not to get too distracted, The Naked Gun I'll be checking out. I haven't seen that yet.
So good.
You saw the Looney Tunes one. You might talk me into that one. Black Bag. Don't think I'm gonna watch that. The Gorge. No. Death of a Unicorn. I remember we were excited. And then Splitsville and The Materialist, get the fuck out of here. So as far as where the roses landed for me on international feature, it's a little bit lower because of its score. It's a 3.5 for me, so it's actually listed at 27 out of my list. It's right below films like Tokyo Godfathers and The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, And above films like Perfect Days and Belle, I think I had more fun with The Roses, so I gave it that little rub. But it is on the lower end of 3.5s I've given for international feature films. In 2025, I have this movie here ranked below the Demon Slayer movie. It's my last 3.5 that I have, but above 3, which the first 3 I have here is the Thunderbolts movie. So I have this movie in, and I don't know why I don't have an order number. Why does it not show the numbers?
You have to mark the list as ranked.
Why the fuck is that a feature? Why the fuck do I have to do that?
Well, some people don't rank. Some people don't rank movies. They just put lists. They're crazy people.
Fucking insane. So all that to say, it's ranked above Thunderbolts, right under the Demon Slayer movie. It's at 16 for me for 2025.
Yeah, we're going to have to do some heavy lifting here in these last 2 months. 24 movies for me, 22 for you. Hey, we got this, man. We got this.
Again, I mentioned a couple of yours that I want to see, which I think I can casually watch. I'm going to watch Weapons, probably.
Yeah, I got to figure, I got to just balls up and watch Weapons because I want to see it, and I have my website. I know when the jumps happen, so.
Exactly.
I want to check it out.
Weapons is there. I've got a couple more. Predator Badlands is coming out. By the time this episode is released, I will have seen it.
And Predator Killer of Killers, we can add that.
Killer of Killers.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, I need to probably watch that this week, huh? Oh.
We got Zootopia.
Oh, yeah?
Zootopia will be an easy add. There's something else, right?
I'll be seeing, Wicked.
Oh, who?
For good. I'll also be seeing the I'll be seeing the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, the sequel. Not because I want to, because I have to.
Didn't the last one come out last year?
Like a year or two ago, yeah. It was pretty quick.
Pumping these bitches out. Huh?
But yeah, this December. So, yeah. I've got at least, I think I could get to 40 comfortably. 50 is a task. 50 is going to be a task this year. We got a lot of movies to look forward to. Glad we added The Roses to that list.
Yeah, The Roses was a good time. So if you checked it out, or you may have missed it, because again, even though it had like a lot of marketing, a lot of people statistically did not appear to see it. So if you check it out, definitely let us know how you felt, and you can let us know over on social media through the Linktree link in the show notes of this and every single episode. Make sure to follow us over on Instagram, TikTok, join our growing Discord community, follow us on Twitch, where we are streaming each and every single week, and you can also head on over to YouTube to catch video content, like, share, and subscribe. You guys know the drill. Head on over to your podcast player of choice, leave us 5 stars. Thank you so much for all of you that have done that already. Follow Eric and I on our personal pages. Eric also has a personal Twitch channel where he is streaming a lot, and of course I have my voiceover ventures, and I will be running a raffle here pretty soon, a birthday raffle heading into my birthday on December 4th, so make sure you check my social media for that. But if you find yourself wanting some additional content from the show, maybe getting episodes early, or even participating in our next Patreon month, which will be in 2026, Eric will let you know how to do that before wrapping us up.
Yeah, so to go beyond with the podcast, you're able to support us in a lot of those ways that Phil mentioned that are absolutely free and only take a moment of your time. But if you want to go that extra mile, join our Patreon, where patrons of the show, Briar, T3 Cato, Vintage Macaroni, Corey from The World Is My Burrito, Nick Casbaro, the author of the Vitalarium series, and Botter from the Short Box podcast, are supporting us monthly in exchange for things like behind the scenes and early access to episodes like this one. There's a lot of different perks, multiple tiers to choose from. Take your pick of the litter, choose something, support us. We appreciate it. But again, if you cannot do that, that is okay. That is fine. It's not a big deal. You could do the free stuff. Do the free stuff. There's no, I promise we will not give you the food you're allergic to and threaten you with an EpiPen to sign up for our Patreon, but we might. With all that being said, that is the end of our episode here. Please remember that my name is Mr. Eric Almighty. That is my co-host, Phil the Filipino, and that we release new episodes every Wednesday for the podcast. And all you have to do is wait for it.
This is the Wait For It podcast.